Welcome to Good Game Pocket Edition, our weekly roundup of gaming. I'm Hex.
And I'm Barjo. This week we brave some unforgiving battlefields in Age of Wonders 3.
But before any of that, we go to a calmer, although maybe crazier place with a pair of games starring goats. Whoa! Goat Simulator was born out of a 1-month internal game jam held by Coffee Stain Studios after completing Sanctum 2. It started out as a joke, parodying other simulation games like Euro Truck Simulator, except, well, you're a goat.
Your main objective is to cause as much chaos as possible, which scores you points.
The game's physics are all over the place, meaning the slightest touch will cause many of the objects in this world to come crashing down. Oh, no way! Or just plain explode. But you can also attach your tongue to objects and drag them around to create even more chaos. Let's be clear, you will laugh a lot playing this game for about 20 minutes. The novelty wears off pretty quickly, and while I have nothing against someone charging money for something like this, what they are charging for it is a bit steep in my opinion. I don't know that I can score it seriously, so I'm just gonna give it out of 10.
Interesting. I'm gonna give it out of 10. Escape Goat 2 is a puzzle platformer featuring a lovable purple goat. Why he's purple, we may never know.
Yes, what we do know is that he's got plenty of sheep friends that need rescuing.
To do this, you'll need to brave a series of rooms, each designed to make you as dead as possible. On the surface, this looks like a simple room-by-room platformer, but it's surprisingly well made, and I found an inner beauty to the design of these levels and how they subtly teach you how to play.
There is also a level editor currently in beta which allows you to create levels or download others, and that extends the life of the game a little. There's nothing much else to say about this really. It won't blow you away, but it's a nice little goat-themed puzzler, so I think it's worth a 7.
I appreciate how well this game is made. It's got a lot of polish, but I also found it was just lacking something, a bit unremarkable at the same time, so I'm giving it 6.5 out of 10.
Over on Spawn Point, our show for younger gamers on ABC3, we had fun with a special sports episode.
Australian developer Big Ant Studios has already brought us AFL Live and Rugby League Live, and now they're bringing us the Don himself with Don Bradman Cricket 14.
Guys, with this game, the first thing I have to say is just play the tutorial. I jumped straight into a match and it was not pretty.
What's he doing? Got the run-up all wrong.
Past cricket games have been pretty mediocre, but this one has a really deep control system. The analog stick-based mechanics make you feel like you have a lot more control than just hitting buttons.
Once you get your head around all of this, there's a few modes to jump into, such as casual matches to a full-blown tournament. The biggest letdown for this game, which I'm sad to say, is the look of it. The stadium backgrounds are low-res, player animations are stilted and unnatural.
But while this could definitely do with a lot more polish, it's still leagues ahead of any other cricket game we've seen. You can see how much effort has been put into making this game feel as close as possible in quality to other big sports releases.
Well, it does have some rough edges, but it's also got solid mechanics. I'm going to give it 6.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I was actually quite impressed with this. I'm going to give it 7.5.
Let's go. Now it's that power up.
Kinect Sports Rivals runs you through a series of motion control sports all set around a scenic tropical island. There's a bit of a resort feel to the activities, with traditional sports like tennis being mixed in with more extreme stuff like rock climbing and jet skiing. The sporty version of me responded accurately, especially in the soccer game, which was a lot of fun. There's no running around to worry about, you just have to time your passes, then go for a shot on goal.
Plus, getting to switch around and act as the goalie is really clever.
The other sport that I really liked was the rock climbing. You just reach up with an open hand and then close it around the hold you want. I found I could get a pretty good climbing rhythm going. The artificial intelligence was so bad that I'd often be outscoring them by huge amounts. These matches just felt like a glorified practice mode. Some of the events let the game down as well.
Through the gates, Step on it.
Jet skiing looks good, especially the water. But those controls were so loose, I just kept oversteering into obstacles. This is a tricky game to score because the multiplayer is quite fun, but the single player isn't. It's a bit of a mixed bag.
And you know, I like the Kinect. I think the scanning technology is really cool, but it really only registered my movements about 90% of the time, and I don't think that's accurate enough for a game like this, so I'm giving it a 6 out of 10.
I'm going to give it 6.5.
Okay, time for a question. And this week we've got this one from Lucas, who is in Gungahlin in the Australian Capital Territory. Great show, guys. Well done to all involved. My question, what is happening to GameSpy and how will it affect online gaming?
Thanks for the kind words, Lucas. As for what's happening with GameSpy, I'm sorry to say it is being shut down.
The website shut down last year due to business reasons, and as a result of that, they've also announced that the GameSpy servers will now be shutting down at the end of May. So any games that use those servers for online gaming or key authentication are going to be affected to varying degrees.
The good news is there's been a fair bit of warning that this would happen, so a lot of games have either already transitioned to other servers or are looking into other options.
Yeah, from what we've heard, Activision have said their games won't be affected, so no drama there. Bohemia have said Arma 2, Operation Arrowhead and Arma 3 will get different servers, but their other games will be affected. EA, meanwhile, is going to transition Battlefield 2, Battlefield 2142 and Bad Company 2 to new servers, so they'll be fine.
But clearly there will be some casualties. Some of the highest profile ones will be the PC versions of Crysis and Crysis 2, which will both be losing their online multiplayer as a result, although the console versions will be fine.
Also, a lot of old Nintendo games actually use the GameSpy servers, which is likely part of the reason Nintendo announced they'd be shutting down their services for a lot of old Wii and DS games. But other than being a bit of a sad day and a pain in the butt for the games it does affect, I don't see the shutdown having much of a grander effect on online games. So, on that note, it's your review time.
And I think it's only fair we hear what you guys thought of the highly anticipated Titanfall.
It was only a matter of time. Pilots, get ready to move.
And glancing over the reviews, it seems like most of you either loved it or at least liked it a bit. But there was some juicy hate out there too, such as this one from Harry, who wrote, "This is the worst game of the year. Even Rambo is better than this. Why call it Titanfall when it should be called Disasterfall?" Half a star.
Disasterfall? I mean, if you're gonna hate on it, I'd call it Titanfall, personally. It's a better idea. Other than that, though, most of you weren't so harsh, but there was some criticism, like this one from Insane Gamer, who said, "So I guess they forgot to mention you can't even party up with friends or even rematch, and also the outcome of whether you win or lose doesn't matter. How good you play, but what side you're on, and the OP guns with basically aimbot. And some other big problems, this is not a 8.5. 7.
Alrighty, but clearly there was plenty of love out there, like this one from The Noter, who wrote, "The best badass shooter game ever. 10 stars.
And finally, Lance here had quite a balanced opinion, saying, "I won't say the game is prefer, but I will say not bad." And he gave it 8.5.
Well, that's it for your review this week. Let's take a look at our big review from last week, which was the latest game in the long-dormant Age of Wonders series. Age of Wonders is a turn-based strategy series set in a fantasy world.
Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I have to say I've never played or even heard of Age of Wonders before.
Yeah, me neither. In fact, I thought this was part of the Age of Mythology series at first. As you start the campaign, you're given a few screens of full voiced-over text to fill you in on the story. In a nutshell, there's been peace for a while between the races, but now they're all fighting again.
And history favours the one who strikes first.
Well, story aside, this plays like a fantasy RPG version of Civilization. The main map is set out on a hex grid with cities and various encampments to take control of, build up and expand. And like in the Total War games, there's a separate tactical battle mode that you can go into when armies clash. The RPG twist to all of this is that you have a special hero unit who is basically the ruler of your civilization.
These guys come with all the RPG trappings, like upgradable magic attacks and skills. And as you play, you'll find new weapons, armor, and mounts you can equip them with. During the campaign, you'll also meet other heroes who will join your cause. They can definitely make your armies much more powerful, except you often have to keep them alive for the sake of the story. So if they fall in battle, it's an instant fail. Even without those insta-fails, I learned pretty quickly that everything can and will go very wrong in just a turn or two, if you aren't prepared. Just a few turns after starting wars, enemy armies seemed to spring up from everywhere and quickly take hold of any cities I'd left undefended. Each army can only have up to 6 units, and most units can only withstand 2 or 3 enemy attacks. So just 1 or 2 bad turns and it will all be over. I think this is one of those games that clicks after dozens and dozens of hours of play, or if you're already a veteran of the series. What do you think of the grand campaign overall, Hex?
That I didn't think had so much depth to it. For example, when you're building up cities, there's no branching build trees or choices to make for specializing a city. With enough gold and time, you can just max them all out.
And it's the same with research and diplomacy. Given enough time, you can simply research everything, so there's no choice there other than which to research first. And while there are diplomatic options available, outside of a few story-driven alliances, they're generally pointless. The only real road to victory is force.
Yeah, I think overall it's missing a lot of the intricacies and tough decisions that make a game like Civ so compelling. I loved the RPG side of things, like finding caves and dungeons to explore and getting loot. And I really liked how when you zoom out, it turns into a classic fantasy-style map.
I feel like I'm nitpicking a bit with this one, Hex, but it is a really tough one because there's nothing in it that I hate, but there's nothing that I also love, nothing that gets me really invested and excited about this game. But it all works, so I'm going to give it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
For me, it's a 7.5.
Hope you enjoyed our little roundup of our week that was, and don't forget you can tune into regular episodes of Good Game every Tuesday night at 8:30 PM on ABC2.
Next week, it's time to bunker down for the end of the world in our apocalypse special. Until then, Hex out.
Raju out.